So that day when Jesus met up with Mary and Martha 4 days after his close friend and their brother Lazarus had died, and he was already in the tomb. And he meets Martha and says, Martha, John 11, I am the resurrection. Anyone who believes in me will live, even though he dies. Everyone who lives in me and believes in me will never die. And then to validate that truth, he looks at the tomb, tells the people around to move the stone back, and after 4 days there, he calls Lazarus out of that tomb, and he comes sort of stumbling out, still in his grave clothes, brought back to life. Jesus validated it with a miracle. It's not an empty claim. He called Lazarus out. But there's another reason that this hope is credible. I'm saying this hope is realistic. I'm saying it can be powerful in your life. Why? Well, because it's credible. It's credible because God can't even lie. But the second reason that it's credible is that it's reasonable to believe it. Do you know it's reasonable actually to believe it? You live in a generational moment that the culture around you would tell you, no, it's not reasonable to believe in God. But I'm saying to you, as a counterculture voice, I'm saying to you, it is more than reasonable to believe in the hope that Christ brings. Jesus claimed to be God walking among us. So listen to this logic. If God exists, then it's only reasonable that miracles are possible. If a miracle is possible, then the resurrection can happen. And all that Jesus did is absolutely possible. And so Jesus came continually validating that claim as God. The historical records show it by performing miracles of healing and mercy and love all around him. And Jesus said, listen closely to this. Jesus said the reason that he was doing all of it was that he was coming to live among us in order to die for us in our place, to give us the hope of eternal life, so that death as we know it, could be destroyed. And to demonstrate that, he goes to the cross. He's buried in a tomb. 3 days later, he resurrects from the grave. And now listen, if you investigate his resurrection closely, if you use the actual and applied principles of legal historical evidence gathering that any legal expert, any historian uses in order to validate an event that has happened in the past, you will find that the most credible answer is that the empty tomb means that Christ resurrected. Not the false alternatives that maybe he swooned and then was revived later. Not the false alternative that the disciples stole his body. What would be the purpose in that? Steal his body 3 or 5 days later. They're not going to be able to animate that body. Or that they misidentified the tomb that had been identified and sealed by a Roman seal. Or one that I've heard just in the most recent years that I had not heard before, that Jesus had a twin, Rather, the empty tomb, along with all of its corroborating evidence, means that he rose from the grave.